Today we're going to start on Kuf Lamed Gimel 133. Towards the top, it's one line from the top. One line from the top. Thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. So we're learning. We should have the basic Mikdash immediately. We're learning. Nishma Savagolda Basra Daf Yamin, Sanos Ben Benzion, and also for Shlema from David Ben Sarah and Gazali Gatzil Elias Ben Fegit. Whoever else needs her for Shlema and the hostages. Okay. Talking about a woman that's getting a portion of her husband's inheritance, and together with that, the sons are getting also their portion, and because of that, she's losing the lien of her ksuba on the son's portion, because she's sort of agreeing that this is how it's going to be allocated. And if the husband gets more property, so she'll take the ksuba from that. That's what we were learning. Okay. Last case that we learned was that where someone divided up. He gave a third to his daughter, another third to his other daughter, he gave a third to his wife. But one of the daughters passed away. So that third was machlekes, but we said from Rav Kana that it's as if it went back to the husband, to the father, and then the wife can take the ksuba from that. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Who?
That's an unmarried daughter.
Who's not married? Oh yeah, we're talking about she wasn't married.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Who the palgino lenichse? It's the second line from the top. Who the palgino lenichse? Leitze olivnei, olivnei, probably olivnei. There was a person that divided the inheritance between his wife and his sons. Okay, which that was the story that we've been talking about. It's called Shutif Bein Habanim. She becomes a partner together with the sons, and when that happens, she usually loses the rights to claim the ksuba from the son's inheritance. Shir Chad Dikla, there was one palm tree that was left over. So for Ravina Lameimar, Ravina understood that Lesle Alachad's Dikla, if she wants to claim the ksuba, there's only one thing that she didn't dismiss the lien from, and that was that one tree that wasn't divided, one palm tree. So if she wants a ksuba, go see what that palm tree is worth and take it from there. Amalei Rav Yemer LeRavina. Rav Yemer says to Ravina, 1 second. Ilesle, if she doesn't get a ksuba from the son, so chadikna nami lesle, then she shouldn't get from the palm tree either. Okay, I'm not sure about how this is working. Rather, he says that if she's able to get from the palm tree, then she's really able to get from the brothers as well. Now, the explanation for this, what he's saying is, this is similar to something that we learned before. You had a question?
Is it because he doesn't give the gift over it completely, so he gets it back, or is it because his daughter doesn't have husband or sons to inherit, so that's why it's open?
I think it goes back to him because she had no inheritors. Now, something that we learned before was that Rava had a question: does this apply also if the person is healthy? or does this apply only when he's only when he's on a sick bed? An explanation for that question was, do we say that when the fact that the woman was quiet when the estate was being distributed to the sons, do we say that she didn't think that it's worthwhile complaining now, because he's gonna if he's healthy, he's still gonna acquire more property and she'll get it from the next property. So there's no reason for her to complain. So it could be also that the reason why she's quiet in this case is because there's another palm tree there that he didn't divide yet. So as soon as that goes, then she's going to complain. But meanwhile, she doesn't have to complain at the beginning. But it could be that she was never really Michael the lien. She never forgave the lien because there's still something there. And that's what Rab Yemar is saying to Ravina. One second. Okay. Rav Yemer saying to Ravina is that she really should be able to get from the brothers what was distributed to the brothers as well. The fact that she was quiet doesn't mean that she forgave that, because she was holding on to the palm tree that maybe that's what's going to happen and she's going to be able to get from that. So which means that she wasn't really Michael. She wasn't really forgiving the lien. Yeah, I'm not sure what yeah, okay, so now Ravina is clear now. Ravina was saying she should only get from the palm tree. And what Rav Yemar is saying to Ravina is that the reason why she was quiet shifts a little bit when there was still some property remaining that wasn't divided.
Is this giving up the same as when someone loses an item?
It's sort of, yeah. Similar. That's called Yish. This is called Mechila. The Rashbam over here summarizes all the halachas. He starts off with, you see this is like a nice big Rashbam on this page. See that? Very unique looking page. There's no taishus here. See what it looks like?
Oh, wow, yeah. Inside.
Yeah.
You want to show it to the camera?
Where does this Rashbam begin?
Yeah, just one second. Let me
People, people in Morocco.
Yeah, where does it begin? Which one?
So this, the Rashbam that's summarizing, you see a Rashbam that's Amalei Rav Yemel Ravina.
Let's find it.
If you look in the Gemara, 4 lines from the top of the Gemara down in the Rashbam,
Mhm.
then if you go down about 15 lines in the Rashbam itself, a line that starts Titzaik, you have Bahashta Shaminan. There's like a comma in my Rashbam. Bahashta Shaminan.
Mhm. Okay,
It's next.
thank you.
So that Bahashta Shaminan is where he summarizes all the halachas. He first says the concept of Shutif Bein Abanim, that if the husband makes her a partner in the estate together with the sons, so she loses the ability to claim her ksuba from the son's property. Then he introduces the concept of if there was one palm tree that was left over, then we don't say the fact that she was quiet, the Gemara that we just learned, the fact that she was quiet means that she's Michael, really, but rather the fact that she was quiet was only because she was hoping that something else was going to, that she was going to be able to take from that. And, if that goes, then she would complain later, but she didn't feel any reason to complain yet. Then he says that if the distribution didn't include property for her, then she wouldn't be Michael either. It's only when she's getting property and they're getting property, like we had before with Rav Nachman, said by metaltal and by personality, it doesn't work. Then he says, if he acquires property later, then she can collect from that. And now we say also that this is specifically by a shchiv mira, not by a healthy person, because Rava had a question before. So that question ended up with a teku. And because of that, she would not, when something ends with a teku, the rule would be that she wouldn't be able to collect, but once she collected, they wouldn't be able to take it away from her. That's okay. New Gemara over here. Amar Rav Huna. Shchivni Rashi Kasav Kol Nechasav Lacher. Rav Huna says, Rav Huna was a great Amaira. He's a student of Rav. He's the head of the yeshiva in Surah for many years. He says, Shchivni Rashi Kasav Kol Nechasav Lacher Rayin Imrei Liyarshe. If there's someone on his deathbed that he writes all his possessions over to someone else. So we see if that someone else was an inheritor, was he eligible to inherit? If he was eligible to inherit, then Naitla Mishum Yerusha, then he takes it as an inheritance. If he wasn't eligible to inherit, then Naitla Mishum Matana, he takes it as a gift. Amalei Rav Nachman says to Rav Huna, Ganva Genuvi Lamalach, why do you have to sneak and trick to say this halacha? Isvir lach Rabbi Yechim Membreka, Emalach Rabbi Yechim Membreka. What are you trying to say? That's a classic Rabbi Yechim Membreka. That if there's an inheritor, you're allowed to put all of the inheritance onto this one inheritor. So just say the halacha is like Rabbi Yechim Membreka. Why are you saying it like as if it's your own halacha? The Shmaitech Rabbi Yechim Membreka does your halacha is just following Rabbi Yechim Membreka.
Is this the same as when he says that it has to be an inheritor in order to give him everything?
Yeah. If he's an inheritor, then he can. If he's not an inheritor, then he gets it as a gift. He didn't say which expression he was using. He just said, all my property is going to so-and-so. He didn't say as a gift or as an inheritance. He didn't say. So we say, if he's an inheritor, then it's doing it as an inheritance. If it's not an inheritance, he's doing it as a gift.
Isn't there a difference because he says all as opposed to 5%? What we learned before about like if he says all.
Yeah, the special type of gift. If he can get it back later, if he recovers. Yeah, that's a difference. But
You say all.
No.
Dilma, so he says, Rav Nachman says, Dilma ki maybe you're saying the following. The Havik Kashach, if there was a person that was dying, and they told him, they're having a very important conversation with him when he's on his deathbed. Says, Nichse Laman, who would you like your inheritance to go to? Dilma Laplanya, would you like to give it to so-and-so? Amr Lahu, he says to them, El Laman, who else? Amritla and Allah. And we've said on this, if that person, that man, that is fit to inherit the Naitam Mishum Yerusha, he takes it as Yerusha. Imlav Naitam Mishum Matan, he takes it as a gift. Amalei, he says to him, in Hachikamina, that's exactly what I meant. That what he's saying is not that there's a possibility of getting a Yerusha of the Allah like Rabbi Yechim Membreka, but just in such a scenario where the person doesn't say exactly what he means, that we would decide ourselves if it's what it is based on if he's eligible to get it as Yerusha or if he's only eligible to get it as a gift. Okay. My Hilchasa. What's the halach? What is the nafkamina? What's the difference if it's a Yerusha or if it's a gift? Savar Rav Ada bar Ava Kamei de Rav Lameimar. Rav Ada bar Ava thought in front of Rava to say that Imra Yarsha, if the person that's receiving the inheritance is an inheritor, then Almanusay Nuzainus Minachasab. The rule is that the widow is able to get her sustenance, get her living expenses from the inheritors. If the person is an inheritor, then she is able to take from the inheritors. However, Vimlav, but if it's a gift, then she can't take from the one that received the gift. She can only take it from the estate, which is the inheritors. Once it's a gift, then she's out. She has a lien. Yeah, she can take her ksuba, but and if her ksuba comes first, she'll collect her ksuba. But what about if she's not taking the ksuba? If she wants to live on the get her sustenance, so only if it's the inheritors there, that's what he understands. Amalei Rava says to Ravada Barava, Mikra Gara, is it worse when it's a gift? When it comes to a inheritance, which that's a Torah law that the children inherit, we say 1 second, hold off on that Torah law. It comes in the widow and is going to get her living expenses from that inheritance. It's going to extract from that inheritance which was given to the children as a Torah law. How did this fellow get the gift? Because it was said by the Shriv Meirah, by the person on his deathbed, that the gift should be given. There was no actual transaction. But the rabbi said that if someone on his deathbed makes a statement, we follow through with it. So how did this person get the gift? Just with this rabbinic enactment. And this rabbinic enactment is so strong that it's going to block out the widow from getting her expenses, when the Torah law allows her still to come in to get it. When it's an inheritance, she still comes in and extracts, confiscates, takes their daily expenses. And now when it's given as a rabbinic law, then that's so strong that it's going to take away, she's going to block her out from getting her expenses.
She's living off the estate, so that's not necessarily like inheritance. Yeah, that's like the default. That's
yeah. So what's happening is the estate is being given to someone. She's supposed to live off the estate. If it would be
estate, oh, it's gifted to someone.
Yeah. So if it would be the inheritors, then she would be living off the estate. But now that it's being gifted,
Okay.
so Rav Ada Barav is saying that she can't live off this once it's being gifted. So Rav is saying, but this is not a regular gift.
Yeah.
This is a gift of a Shriv Meirah, which is only rabbinic. This is not worse than an inheritance. If it would have been a regular gift that was given before his death, with a regular transaction, that would be different.
Who's he gifting to?
Nurse, caretaker.
Yeah,
Oh, it's just
like what usually happens.
classic.
This is a movie.
Truth, stranger.
What was that?
Thanks, Stephen Hawking.
He gave his inheritance to his caretaker.
Oh, we wrote a book on that.
Uh-huh.
Do you happen to know, in the circumstances where it's deemed that she has Michael, that she's relinquished her claim for her kasuva versus her other inheritors or sons, does that mean she's also relinquished it versus third parties who
Well, that was
took
my
property? Who took property?
What does that mean? She can't claim the ksuba.
She
From
can't
that.
claim the kasuva against the sons.
Right.
Okay, got that. But let's say there was other real property that was transferred, assuming that she didn't agree to relinquish it when, her husband transferred the property to somebody else.
So property like as in Nichse Malug, like that was supposed to be hers.
No, proper and realty. She has a lien on her husband's realty. And her husband sold it, and her husband sold it to somebody and she didn't ask her for to agree to relinquish her claim.
Oh. I think we learned that she's able to go to them and take it.
She could go to those people and take it. So
Yeah.
she's only relinquishing her claim against the other heirs.
Against the other heirs that she's getting, only when it's being divided together with her.
Yeah. So she's not really, in that case, she's not really giving up so much.
Right. Which makes it an interesting point that the Rashbam didn't say, would be that if that's the case, that she's not giving up so much, then maybe her being quiet isn't really a mechila. The reason why she was quiet is because she knows that there was a property that was sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Rashbam didn't say that. Maybe he doesn't hold of it.
Did they have maybe a document where she would like, if the husband was going to property, where she would like take off the lien for that property?
Oh, maybe.
My question also.
Maybe Hillel's bringing up that it could be that
Well, I mean, it's
if the husband sells the property. Oh no, I think the Gemara said that nachas ruach, she can claim I was just doing it because my husband asked me to do that, but I didn't really mean it.
That's the same question that I had about the whole fight. Okay, she might have hopes that she's gonna get another property, but what if that doesn't happen? Then she could say, "Oh, I relinquished the rights to this because
Okay.
I had hopes."
So that nachas ruach asisi labaili was only acceptable in certain cases. That's only if she doesn't receive anything. When she's receiving something, then we don't say nachas ruach asisi labaili.
What if the husband was a businessman and she had hopes that he was gonna acquire more property?
So that's by the bari. That's why it doesn't work over there. Because she's hoping. That's what we said. That's why the Rava's question. He's healthy, which she's expecting her. She's expecting him to acquire more property. Then also it doesn't. She's also not Michael. Okay. So Rava now has to say what is the actual difference between a Yerusha or a Matana. If the difference is not if the widow can take the living expenses from it. Like Ravacha bar Avya sent. According to Rabbi Yechim ben Breka, we had this once before. According to Rabbi Yechim ben Breka, if a person says, my inheritance, my property is going to you, and after you, it's going to go to someone else. Do you hear your thermos?
Show Rabbi Smith what you just reported. Tadpole tea.
Oh, you hear it?
Tadpole tea. Oh my God.
Oh, what is it?
Tadpoles.
It's cooking. I hear it.
It's good. I know it is. It's chamomile with something else.
No, just
Or just chamomile. Okay, very nice. Huh? Okay. But tighten the thermos because it's talking. Okay.
I was wondering, like a static. Like he's used to doing a recording. Science experiment.
Looks like little peas,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's chamomile.
Flowers.
like pine nuts. On top of the hummus.
So if according to Rabbi Yechim ben Breka, if someone says my property should go to you, but after you, in other words, after this person passes away, it should go to someone else. In other words, I don't want it to follow, to go down your line of inheritance. I want it to go to someone else afterwards. If the first person was an inheritor, then then the second person can't get anything, because once it's given as an inheritance, then you lose control over that. You don't have, there's no strings that are, you can pull it back and say where it should go. She'in lashon matana lashon Yerusha. Yerusha in lehefsek. Yerusha has never stops. She'in zeh lashon matana lashon Yerusha. Yerusha in lehefsek. Amli Rava Rav Nachman. Rava says to Rav Nachman, "V'afsika." But 1 second, he stipulated. He said exactly what he wants it to, what he wants to happen with it. Usav yesh lehefsek. Rav Nachman says, yeah. That's because he thought that he could stipulate it. Rahman Amr ain't lehefsek, but the Torah says that he can't. So what that he stipulated? It's his mistake. Which means that the difference now between an inheritance and a gift is that if it's given as a gift, you can still control what type of gift you want it to be. And if it's given as an inheritance, you lose control over that. Even though you're stipulating what you say, but that's your mistake. It doesn't work like that.
Didn't we learn something like, I don't remember who it was, if he mentioned gift at the beginning or the end?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, here we're saying that he's not saying the word gift, saying if it's a person, he's saying the name inheritance. But if he means if the person is an inheritor, then it's meant as a gift. And if it's meant as a gift, then he has control over who it's going to go to afterwards.
In the shape may love it.
I think so. He's not saying the gift or Yerush. He's saying the Chaselah. My property is going to you. Okay. Ahu Damalei Lachabre. There was a person that said to his friend, my property should go to you and afterwards to someone else. Rishon Rali Yarshay, and the first person that he gave it to, or that he said it's going to, is an inheritor. Shachav Rishon. Well, the first person passed away. Not the first person, it's the second. There's three people here.
So could he
right?
have a bumper sticker that says, I'm spending my father's inheritance? You know.
I'm spending the
It's the
next
other way.
person's
The next
inheritance.
Yeah.
So Shachav Rishon, the inheritor dies. Also Sheni Katavat, so the second person comes to collect. Says, I heard that it's coming to me next. Sabar Rabbi Elish, Kameda Rav Lameima, so Rabbi Elish, in front of Rava, saying Rabbi Elish must have been a dayan in Rava's bestin. So Rabbi Elish said, Sheni Namishaka, let the second person take. Amalei, Rava says, Daini dechatztita hachi daini. That would be the dayanim that don't really know the halacha would say that. That's the dayanim that only do pshara. They only say, okay, let's divide it in half because they don't really know the halacha. Or maybe another pshat, Rabbi Nachmanal says, this is the judges of the cemetery say that, which means like not real judges. I know the Shalach Ravacha Barabia. This is exactly the case of Ravacha Barabia. This is which says that the second person can't take it because it was an inheritance. Well, Ichsif. Rav Elish is now ashamed because he said something that wasn't correct. And now he's ashamed that maybe Rava thinks that whenever Rava's not around, he's always making mistakes. He says, well, while I'm there, I caught him on a mistake. What's going on when I'm not there? So, Kari Ale, Rava said about him, Ani Hashem bi'itach Hishana. I am Hashem in its time, I will hasten it, which means that Hashem saves the tzaddik in the time that he needs it, which means that Rava is telling him, I know that you're a tzaddik and you don't make mistakes. The reason why you made a mistake, because I was here and I was able to correct it. If I wasn't here, then what you would say would be correct without me.
It's a totally different, that's what using the same recipe.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah. I had a story with this Rav that he became a Rav in the town, and they sent him a shaila, and he paskined wrong. He paskined, and they proved him that he was wrong. So he said it must not be a real shaila. It was a made-up story. Made-up story. If it would have been a real shaila, the Eibishter gives siyata d'shmaya. It turns out that they looked into it and that they made up a story. It didn't really happen.
That was with the altar.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
There was a story also about somebody was a large amount of money, and he wanted to tell him like what to do with it. Whoever said, "Come back when you have the money." So you should have like the assistant.
Okay. We have a Mishnah. Someone writes his will and he leaves out his kids from the will. He writes it all to everyone else. What he did is done. But the sages are not happy with that because he just neglected the mitzvah of the Torah to leave the inheritance over to the sons, the Torah, and he left no money for the sons. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, if the children weren't going on the right path, so then what he did is like remembered for good that he didn't leave them the money.
When is that measured? At the time that he writes it?
I guess when he's writing the will. Now, there's a discussion, we'll see, are the rabbis arguing with Reb Shimon ben Gamliel and saying that even if he's not Nai Keshura, or the Gemara is going to discuss it.
Seems to contradict what we learned like a couple weeks ago in the time to this. It said like even if you and your spouse or your kids are not getting along, you still have to provide for them.
Right. Yeah. This means that they're not going on the right path. You know. Okay. Gemara says,
Sorry,
"Ibailu."
what was the list? The connect on like that to it.
So Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says that you don't have, you can write them out of the will.
Daf Yomi
And,
Warriors share.
And the Chachamim didn't say that. So let's take a look. Ibailu, mi pligi Rabban Aled Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Elai. Do the Chachamim argue on Rav Shimon ben Gamliel? Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says you can take them out of the will. Was that the old joke? It's to my brother Irving. You've always said I wouldn't mention you in my will. Well, hello, Irving. So, mi pligi Rabbanan Adoshem Tashima. Come listen. The Yosef ben Yezer. Yosef ben Yezer is one of the Zugais. He goes way back. He's before the Tanoim. Well, the early Tanoim. You know, Yosef ben Yezer and Yosef ben Yochanan issue Shalayim in the first chapter of Pirkei Avos. You have the early sages of the oral tradition. You have Shimon HaTzadik and Nitar Bailey and Shimon ben Shattach. Anyway, in there is Yosef ben Yezer. He said, Yosef ben Yezer, Hayale ben Shleihanei Kashura. He had a son that wasn't behaving properly. Habale Elisa de Dinri. He had a bundle. What does it call that?
Purse.
Purse.
Probably not a girl's purse.
A satchel. A satchel. A purse of money. Come, Akdasha. He got up and he consecrated it. He sanctified it to the Beis Hamikdash instead of his son getting it. Ozil Nosiv Bas Gadil Kaliloi the Yane Malka. This son went and he married the daughter of the person that makes the crowns for King Yanai. It was around the time of Yanai Amelech. Remember, Yanai was the brother-in-law of Shimon ben Shattach, right? Yeah, the brother-in-law Shimon ben Shattach. Huh?
That's story.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a little before Yosef ben Yezer would have been before Yanai. This is his son. Okay. So he marries the daughter of this person. I lead the bis. So his wife gave birth to a baby. Zavan Labanise, so he bought her some fish. I guess that's what you do. Your wife gives birth, you go buy some fish. And Kara, he opens up the fish, and Ashkach ba Margalisi finds in it a pearl. Amrale, she says to him, I'm just imagining this, she's probably laying in bed, and she's giving instructions to him to, so she's telling him, don't go to the king because he's not going to pay you properly for it. She knows, she's in the business. Don't go to the king. He's going to give you a very cheap price for it. You're not going to make your money. Zilamte Lagabi Gizbury, go to the Beis Hamikdash. Over there, they're going to give you a proper price. But you have to be very careful. When you go there, don't say, will you give me $1,000 for it? Because when you say that, it's as if you did that already, and then the sale's done. And you have to be very careful when you talk to the Beis Hamikdash, because your words is like a contract. Ella l'shaimu inu, l'shaimua inu. Let them evaluate it. You don't say anything.
That's good business.
That's
Now
how
it's
you
true.
handle. You never say.
Right.
It's worth double. Otherwise, you right away put down. You never know.
Right.
I mean, assuming
Thank
it's
you for teaching us how to
something that
handle.
you both making up the price.
Right.
You don't want to shoot yourself in the leg.
So Amte, he comes. Samua betleisar Elisa the dinre. Wow, they evaluated it at 13 purses of coins. I guess gold dinars. Amrilei, but they told to him Sheva Ika. The temple treasury only has 7, just leka, but we don't have 6. We need 13 to pay for this. They're willing to buy it. but we don't have the money. We only have the cash. We only have 7 purses. Amar lahu, he says to them, Sheva havali, okay, so give me the 7, and shis, the 6 of them, they should be consecrated. This is the bad son of Yosef ben Yezer, right? So Amdu v'kasvu, they wrote in the ledger, Yosef ben Yezer yechnes achas. Yosef ben Yezer brought in 1 purse of gold coins. And his son brought in 6. It's like the son that's was no good. He ends up okay. Vikadamri, others say a little different, or very different. Yosef ben Yezer yechnes achas. Yosef ben Yezer brought in 1. Ubanai haitzi sheva. And the son took from us 7. There's 2 ways of looking at this. See, he didn't leave anything for the temple. And all of this was just something that he found. If there would have been, he would have had 13, he would have taken 13. You know, he was taking whatever he could get. So the second one is like, has a negative look at it. It's like the Noyach. 2 ways of looking at this. So the Gemara says, Mida Kamri Hichnes. From the first version of the story, it says that he brought in 6. It looks like what happened over here was because he consecrated it to the temple, that had such a good effect on his son that his son became a tzaddik and he gave the temple 6 coins. Wow! So it seems that that's something that you're allowed to do, to take your son out of the will. That's what it seems. It seems that it had a positive effect. The Gemara says, Adarabba, on the contrary, the opposite. Look at what happened. The son takes 7 from the temple. Means that what he did was not, it's all negative. Everything here is negative. It's funny, what's negative is now negative about the father. What's negative, what we're saying negative about the son, we really mean that the father shouldn't have done that. And that's Ella Mihalak al Mishmane. The problem is, from this we won't be able to get any answer because we have 2 opinions here. Tashima, Masamai Havi Allah. What's the conclusion here? Do the sages agree with Rav Shimon ben Gamliel? Tashima, Damali Shmuel or Rav Yehuda. Shmuel says to Rav Yehuda, Shinina, sharp one. Remember Shinina?
Yeah.
Bhakti. It could be. Lay tehevi beibure achsanta vachilu mibra bisha libratava v'kolshim mibra librata. Don't be part of a bezdin that's passing the inheritance from a bad son to the good sons, and for sure not from a son to a daughter. Don't be part of a bezdin that's doing that. Which means that Shmuel holds that you're not allowed to do that. Now, this is interesting because we have a rule that anytime Reb Shimon ben Gamliel is in the Mishnah, the halach is like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, except for 3 cases. But this is not one of those 3, so the halacha should be like that, like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel anyway. And here it comes along Shmuel and tells us that the halacha is like the Rabbanan, who argue, and he tells us also that the Rabbanan are arguing. You shouldn't be involved in something like this. Well, the Rashbam says Shmuel doesn't hold of that rule. That rule was said by Rabbi Yochanan, and Shmuel doesn't have to hold like Rabbi Yochanan. However, the Rashbam says that anytime there's a rule about a Mishnah, for example, halacha kestam Mishnah, or halachas like Rabbi Akiva when he argues with his friends. Remember, friends. When we had a discussion, friend or friends. Halachas like Rabbi Yossi when he argues with his friend. Halachas like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel in our Mishnah. Well, that would be halachas like Rabbi Lezer and versus if there's a machlekes Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shua, halachas like Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, halachas like Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, halachas like Rabbi Yehuda. We go like that always, unless the Gemara we always follow those rules unless the Gemara tells us that we don't. Yeah.
It's interesting. You say this is, or it's meaning that you shouldn't be part of a beis din that does this.
Right.
I looked ahead and I thought this was saying, I guess I was wrong. I thought it was saying if you're by a shkiv merah and he wants to distribute this stuff wrongly, walk out.
Oh, maybe. Maybe. Let me see a translation.
Yeah, that's what I thought also.
Maybe you're right. Yeah. Do not be in a house where inheritance is transferred. away from the rightful heir. So what does this mean? It is a custom of the pious not to serve as a witness of the transfer of a person's estate away from the rightful heir, in accordance with Shmuel's directive to Rav Yehuda.
This one here says, "Do not be at the house of the child."
Do not participate in such a transfer, even if it is from one child to another, and certainly if it's someone for whom the person is not related. The sages disapprove this behavior. And Meiri writes that it's custom of pious to refrain from participating in such an event. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a bestie. Yeah, it's a bay within the house of. It's in the person that's passing away also. Yeshikayach Rav Naftali. Thank you.
Bestow and gift.
Yeah.
All right, does this extend to other things also?
Could be. We will have to learn that in Sanhedrin. Then Rabbanan. I think we finished Baba Basra around Yutes Kislev time. Yeah, when everyone has to pick a new Masechta. Right? We pick a Yutes Kislev. Babish stays. Divide up Shas.
This is all the Daf Yomi.
So whatever the next one is.
It's a hack. It's a hack.
Okay, Tanner Rabbanan. Started in a brayso. There's a story of a person, his sons weren't going on the right path. Ahmad, he stood up because of Nechasav Yenissim ben Azil, and he rode over all his property to Yenissim ben Azil. Masa Yenissim ben Azil, what did Yenissim ben Azil do? Machar Shlish, he sold a third of it, and he used it for his own things. The Hikta Shlish, third of it he sanctified, consecrated. And he gave a third back to the sons that the father didn't want them to inherit. Shammai comes to him with his staff and his bag, ready to fight. Why did you do that? Why did you give it to the sons? The father clearly made it obvious that he doesn't want the sons to get it, and you gave it to him. Amalei, he says, the Yenissim ben Azil says, Shammai, if you're able to retract what I sold already and what I consecrated, then you'd be able to also to take back what I have given to them. But if you can't get that back, in other words, if I didn't have the rights to do, if I had the rights to do that, then I have the rights to give it to them as well. Imlav, if you can't take it back, then you can't take back what I've given to the sons as well. You can't take it back. Yeah. Well, Amar. So Shammai says, "Itiach alai ben Uzziel, Itiach alai ben Uzziel." Ben Uzziel like banged me on my head. You know, like he won the. How do they translate Itiach?
He bested me.
He bested me. Is that what they say? Okay.
Sometimes a parent will not want to help. Will not want to help a child because of enabling.
Oh.
But what they'll do is they'll
Give it to
ask
someone else.
to help the child because they have the rachmais, they want to help the child. But so it's like the guys watching with one eye, never really not.
Right. Could be.
Gorgeous.
And always the students of the Bill and Shammai, they deal with that. But this looked like it was Shammai himself.
Yeah, this is Shammai. This is Shammai. Shammai himself. Shammai the elder. No, it's very rare. Very rare. We almost have no. In Shas, we have like 3-4 mentions of Shammai himself. Don't have Shammai, Beis Shammai, but they don't have this. It's a very, very rare. And Shammai is going to a student of Hillel. Yenissim ben Azil is a student of Hillel.
Crossing lines.
Yeah, he's crossing the line. Yeah.
Fighting words.
He's going across the street to the yeshiva across the street. So Miyikara Maisava, what did he think originally? He says Mishum Maisa de Beis Chayrin. He thought that this was similar to the story of Beis Chayrin. Now, the Tanan was taught in the Mishnah. Maisa Beis Chayrin, the story in the house of Chayrin. Bechad Sheya Aviv, that's probably a city. Bechad Sheya Aviv Mudar Himeno Hana Vayamasi Benai. I think this was either in Nedarim or in Ksubas. It was in Nedarim. There was a person, the father took a vow that he doesn't want to have any benefit from the son. But the problem is the son's making a wedding, and he wants the grandfather to come to the wedding. So the son says to his friend, my courtyard, and there's the wedding hall, and all the catering stuff is all given to you as a gift. So now it's going to belong to the friend. Why am I giving it to you? Because I want my father to be able to come. If it's mine, my father can't eat here because he said he's not eating by me. He took a vow. So I'm just giving it to you, and I'll come to you. I'll eat by you. And he says, are they really mine? He consecrates the whole wedding to heaven. He says to him, that's not why I gave it to you. This is a huge expense. The reason why you gave it to me is that you and your father could eat together, and I'm going to get this in. You were trying to make a fake thing over here, and you just wanted to make it look like you're clean. Amr Chachamim, the sages said, "Kol matana she'eina, she'mekdisha mekdeshes ina matana." Any gift that doesn't allow the person to consecrate it is not considered a gift. So what happened actually over here? Was it considered consecrated? It wasn't considered a gift. The person was right. He wouldn't. It was going to be their sin. Let's go a drop further. Taner Rabbanan, we'll get to the Mishnah hopefully. Taner Rabbanan started in the Brayso. Shmeina Talmidim Hayalei Hillel Hazakin. Hillel Hazakin had 80 students. 30 of them. Reim Shetishalem Shchina Kamesher Rabbeinu. The Shchina could was able to dwell on them like it did on Moshe Rabbeinu. The only thing is the generation wasn't worthy, so it didn't happen. 30 of them could have blocked the sun, could have stopped the sun like Yeshua ben Nun during that battle.
Good job, guys.
And Esther Bainanim, and 20 of them were in the middle. I guess in the middle between those two.
Good weight.
So that's all 80, right? 60, 30, and 20. Gadol Shabakulam, the greatest of them, I guess the greatest of all 80, right? Yonasan ben Uziel was Yonasan ben Uziel. Katan Shabakulam, the lowest of all of them, was Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai is the one that's quoted in the second chapter in Pirkei Avos with the 5 students, right? Amr Laval Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. They said about Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, Shleiniach Mikra Mishnah Gemara Halachas Vagadas Dikduki Teri Dikduki Seifrim Kalam V'Chomer Gzeir Shavas Kufs Kmarchius Mishalis Kaipsim Mishalis Shualim Sichas Shadim Sichas Tekalim Sichas Malachi Asharis Davar Gadol Davar Katan. Okay, there was nothing that he didn't know. He knew every pasuk, every mishnah, every gemara, every halacha, all of Agarata, every detail of the Torah, of the scribes, light things, strict things, all the Gezeira Shabbos, how to make the seasons, the calendar, and gematria. He knew the parables of the launderers, the parables of the foxes. He could speak to the demons. He could speak to the palm trees. He knew how to talk to the angels, and he knew the great things and the small things.
Sounds like
what are the great things? Yeah, Yitzi. Sounds like Reb Naftali. That's Yitzi commenting over here. So it sounds like Reb Naftali.
Isn't there a story like this about the Frierdiker Rebbe having sent someone to meet his son who didn't, his son-in-law?
Yeah.
The same. Yeah.
So Davar Gadol, Davar Katan. Davar Gadol, what's Davar Gadol? Ma'aser Merkava, that's the Kabbalah. Davar Katan, what's the small things? Havayis Abaye Rava, that's Shas. That's the all the questions. Now, of course, Abaye and Rava weren't around, but it means what Abaye and Rava were discussing. The way for us to understand it. To inherit to those that love, and to fill up their storage houses. If this is how the lowest of the students are, you can imagine. But Yonasan ben Uziel, the greatest. Amr Laval Yonasan ben Uziel, they said about Yonasan ben Uziel, and he was studying Torah. Any bird that flew over him would get burnt up.
Chicken dinner.
Okay, let's leave it over here. Have a great day, everyone.
I didn't know what to do.